again, here, just a simple question. Why is it important to know our strength? Or I would just add actually strength, because hopefully we have more than one.
I guess when I think about that, I think about how knowing my strengths and my weaknesses helps direct me in where I'm going to land, so that I can be my best self, professionally and personally.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Millie.
Yeah, I think Millie hit it right on the head, but just like to add, if you don't know your strengths, but more importantly, if you don't know your weaknesses, you don't know where you need self-improvement, but especially because I think there's always room for self-improvement. But if you don't know, maybe you know them and don't recognize them, but if you don't recognize them, then how can you improve? If you don't improve, you always be stagnant.
Exactly. Yeah. So definitely helps for self-improvement. Anyone else wants to add?
Yes. There's an online survey you can take called Values in Action, or VIA. Mm-hmm. And it's great for learning your strengths.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that.
My top trait is usually curiosity.
Oh, great. That's an awesome trait to have. Ron, I see you unmuted. Do you want to share?
One thought I just had was flipping it around. If your strengths really don't support what you want to build, you're probably building the wrong thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? I think like overall it's really being covered, but it's very important to know our strengths. And one quote that really comes to mind for me is and a quote by Albert Einstein, who said, "Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it would live its whole life believing it's stupid." Now, I love this one because I truly, truly do believe that each and every one of us are built with our own strength and with a unique gift that only us can contribute to the world. But sometimes, unfortunately, in the society, we're just molded to think about trying to become better in things that maybe are not even our strength. So if we truly know where our strength lies, we can really focus on becoming the best version of that versus trying to really work on weaknesses and trying to be a better version of someone else's talent, right? So really knowing our strength to be able to play with our strength. And then the second thing that I think about is whether you are employed or not, we do spend 40 plus hours at work every week. And so imagine how joyful and productive we would be if that 40 plus hours we spend on our work were spent on the work we excel at, something that we're good at, something that gives us joy, something that gives us meaning. So really knowing our strength is going to help us craft and decide to go and work in that area. And I think Ron, I think earlier mentioned, if we're trying to build something and that's not our strength, initially we might try to push ourselves, but eventually we won't be happy. We won't be as much productive and contribute as much. So really knowing our strength is definitely helpful. Now, I know someone earlier shared how you find an assessment. So please do share that in the chat, by the way, for everyone else. But does anyone else want to share how?
Kirk has already put it in the chat, Nejat.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Does anyone else want to share some of the ways you know what you're good at? How do you know what you're good at? Maybe your strength.
Well, one thing I thought of if there's something you naturally gravitate toward, it's probably because you enjoy it, and probably the reason you enjoy it is because that's something you're strong at.
Perfect. Yeah. So observing yourself and just seeing what do I enjoy most. Perfect. What else?
Sometimes you might not know it, well, you may not know it, but other people will tell you that you're good at certain things. And if you find when you hear those things that they're things that you do naturally and easily, then you can really just, get to a point where you can capitalize on those things and know them as your strengths and gifts. sometimes you just may not be spending enough time thinking about what your gift is or what your talent is, but other people recognize it and bring that to you.
Exactly. Other people are mirrors. Whatever feedback they share can be incredibly helpful in helping us know what we're good at. Because sometimes what happens is when you're so good at something, you believe that it's easy for everyone else to. That's really something that happens to each and every one of us. When we're good at something, we think it's easy for everyone else as well, but it may not be. And so when we get that feedback, that's helpful. Anyone else wants to share? All right, so again, someone had mentioned assessments. Assessments are great because you can take them. They will tell you what you're good at. And again, feedback from people is really helpful. And sometimes I would even say we have to be very proactive about asking for feedback. But also when someone comes to you and they say, wow, that was an excellent thing that you did. Because excellent is what? It's just a common term, right? So going back and asking them what stood out, what about it was great. That way they'll tell you the way you handled that customer, or the way you communicated with the client, or the way you negotiated on this term. They will really pinpoint and tell you what exactly it is. So we have to actively seek out those things, not only just ask for feedback and get clarity on it, but I actually think that we should have a document of achievements, wins, and compliments that we usually go and write it down because, again, it's really helpful because I think everyone does have an imposter syndrome. So when you do, you can always go back and read it, but that's an extra thing, but it's really great for self-knowledge is you get the feedback, you write it down, you always go back and review and say, okay, these are the common things that are coming from different people. So this is maybe the area that I do really well, that I don't even know I'm doing it well, but it's my strength. So it's really helpful information that we can get from people. And then the other aspect of self-knowledge is identifying our performance styles, especially when it comes to the leadership style. And again, if you're looking at leadership style, and I do have a theory that great leaders don't necessarily have one leadership style. Obviously, everyone has a leadership style that we tend to frequently apply. But great leadership is about knowing each and every style and when that style is applicable and when that style is effective, and then applying that leadership style at the right time with the right people. That way we get the results. But again, everybody has one tendency for one type of leadership style. So it's really important to start with knowing our leadership style, our communication style, and also our interpersonal strength, how we come across with other people. And so here are a few other assessments that I really think are helpful, especially when it comes to like career. Clifton Strength Finder, I don't know if that was the one that someone earlier mentioned, but maybe you can take a screenshot of this one. Clifton's Strength Finder, it's really helpful because it helps you know your strength. Standout assessment is also another assessment. There might be a free one actually for this one, something that you can take, and it will tell you what you are, what your tendencies are, if you're a teacher, if you're a creator, if you're an advisor. So it will just give you an information on that. Leadership style assessment, there's several of those. There's one that is free, and I'll share that in the chat later. And then DISC assessment is for communication and also for leadership style. Tomi, say that your leadership style is situational leadership. Can you, or were you trying to say you apply the different leadership styles for the situation?
Absolutely. I mean, you already alluded to that, but anybody that uses only one is setting themselves up for failure. And because I don't, just like you said, a great leader or true leader will not only have one, he'll have a mixture of leadership styles from which to choose from. And to define it best is be situational leadership. So it may be transactional, transformational, or whatever, but if you tend to lean on one, it's not going to always work for you. So it's not a cookie cutter leadership style here. It's more than one.
Exactly. Yeah, there's different type of leadership styles. And also the same with communication styles. By the way, in the chat, or maybe you can unmute yourself, how many of you know your leadership style at least, or have done an assessment? And has that been helpful? Ron has shared 123test.com. Perfect. That's a simplified DISC assessment. Perfect. And I hope this is saved, so hopefully people will take it